a great boy. He's working hard.
A very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?
In the midst of one of the most talked about inaugurations in modern American history, one moment stood out, not because it was loud or grand, but because it was quiet and mysterious. As millions of people tuned in to witness the political transition of power, it wasn't the speeches that dominated the headlines. Instead, it was a subtle exchange between Barron Trump and Joe Biden that caught the attention of the world. The son of the former president leaned in and whispered something to the new leader of the country. And for days, people couldn't stop speculating about what had been said. What started as a seemingly mundane act of politeness quickly became a focal point in a politically charged environment. After the pomp and circumstance of the inauguration, it was this brief, silent moment between Barron and Biden that became the subject of intense discussion. Barron, usually a figure who remained in the background, suddenly found himself at the center of one of the most intriguing and mysterious events of the day. The world was eager to understand what transpired in that exchange, what kind of message was passed, and how it would affect the relationship between the Trump family and the incoming administration. The question on everyone's mind was simple. What did Barron say? Was it an innocent gesture, just a quiet word of congratulations from one family to another? Or was there more beneath the surface? In the context of the ceremony, an event often seen as a highly staged, scripted affair, this off-script interaction stood out like a beacon, prompting political analysts, journalists, and the public to search for deeper meaning. The idea that a young man, not yet fully thrust into the political world, could hold such a momentous weight was fascinating, to say the least. Barron's quiet influence. In a world where words often hold immense power, Barron's whisper was a silent but strong message in itself. It wasn't about the volume of what was said, but rather the fact that Barron had chosen to speak to Joe Biden in that crucial moment. Every single gesture, every single word, carries weight in the political realm, especially when you are a member of a family that has been as prominent as the Trumps. For Barron to have shared a quiet moment with the incoming president was a reflection of something much deeper, a possible desire to step into the world of politics, even if just for a fleeting moment. Barron Trump, now a young adult, had grown up in the public eye. As the son of a president who made headlines daily, Barron had always been shielded from the media frenzy. However, this moment marked a turning point. This was no longer just the shy teenager seen on the sidelines of family gatherings. This was Barron taking a small but significant step into the political world, making his presence felt in the quietest, most deliberate of ways. What Barron did in those brief seconds wasn't just polite, it was strategic. He had positioned himself in a way that would set him apart from the rest of the political world. Many others in his position might have used the moment to seize the spotlight, to give a grand speech, or make some kind of powerful statement. But Barron didn't do that. He whispered. And in that whisper, he wielded an understated power. In a world that thrives on noise, Barron's silence became louder than any words could have been. The fact that the media and public reacted so intensely to a simple whisper is a testament to the growing influence Barron could have on the American political landscape. Was this just a one-off, or was Barron's move part of a larger plan, one where he would eventually assume a more central role in politics? Barron Trump's quiet influence had the power to shift the public's perception of him, and possibly of the Trump family as a whole. In a world of constant noise, sometimes the most powerful moments come in silence. What was Barron's message? The whisper Barron shared with Joe Biden wasn't just a conversation between two men. It was a moment wrapped in the weight of family legacy. The Trump family had been at the center of the political stage for years, and Barron, despite his relatively low profile, had always been a part of that story. As the youngest member of the Trump family, his actions were often scrutinized, as the public eagerly wondered if he would one day take on the mantle of his father's political legacy. For Barron, this whispered exchange represented more than just a passing greeting. It was his first real foray into the public discussion of politics. This was a delicate moment where Barron could have said anything, but he chose to keep it simple, yet meaningful. The simplicity of the moment was a stark contrast to the whirlwind of controversy that had surrounded his family's political rise. It It was almost as though Barron was signaling that he understood the complexity of the world he had been thrust into, but that he also knew how to handle it with grace. This moment also hinted at something bigger: Barron's future. What was Barron telling Joe Biden in that moment? Was it a subtle plea for understanding between the outgoing and incoming administrations, a way of signaling that despite the intense political divide, there was room for respect and reconciliation? Or was it something more personal, an acknowledgement of the growing pains of a family in transition? The legacy of the Trump family, with all its highs and lows, wasn't something Barron could escape. His father had cast a large shadow, one that would loom over Barron's every move. And yet, in this quiet exchange, Barron made his own statement. He wasn't just the son of a former president. He was his own person, navigating his place in the world, preparing for whatever future lay ahead. Barron's whisper to Joe Biden wasn't just a casual moment. It was the first step in a journey of political and personal discovery. A message of respect and unity. What did Barron's whisper truly convey? Was it a message of political unity? A quiet plea for cooperation between the Trump family and the incoming Biden administration? Or was it a simple expression of respect? Whatever the content, the fact that Barron reached out to Biden in this way speaks volumes about his maturity. In an age where politics is often marked by sharp division, Barron's move was an unexpected act of grace. Barron, though still young, exhibited a level of maturity that many politicians, regardless of age, struggle to achieve. The moment showed that Barron was capable of understanding the complexity of the political world and his place in it. His whisper wasn't just about a familial connection. It was a nod to the importance of respect, even in the face of fierce opposition. Barron's quiet gesture was a reflection of the way the world was changing, where people, regardless of political background, were being called to embrace civility and understanding. The whisper also pointed to something even more intriguing: Barron's future in politics. Could this be the first sign that Barron was preparing to take a role in shaping the political future of America? His actions on that day were subtle, but meaningful. Could they be the beginning of Barron carving out his own space in the complex world of American governance? It's clear that Barron Trump's whisper wasn't just a fleeting moment. It was an introduction to the kind of figure he might become. Politicians, celebrities, and pundits all weighed in on the significance of the moment, analyzing every possible angle. Some saw Barron's actions as a sign that he was ready to enter the political world, while others speculated that it was simply a moment of kindness in a time of immense division. What Barron had said may never be fully known, but his actions had already told a powerful story. Barron Trump was not just a passive observer of history. He was ready to play a role. The backlash. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and Barron Trump's whisper to Joe Biden was no exception. While many hailed the moment as a sign of maturity and grace, there were those who were less impressed. Some critics questioned why Barron chose to engage with Biden at all, given the deep political divide between the Trump and Biden families. Why would Barron, a member of the Trump family, reach out to the man who had replaced his father in the White House? Was it a sign of political strategy, or was it simply a moment of politeness? The backlash wasn't just about Barron's personal actions. It was about the political implications of that small whisper. For many, it seemed like Barron had made an overt gesture of politeness to an administration that his father had opposed so vehemently. Could it be that Barron's actions were more politically motivated than they appeared? Was he subtly signaling his willingness to engage with the political world, even if it meant aligning with his father's opponent? While Barron Trump's whispered words to Joe Biden may have seemed innocent on the surface, many couldn't help but wonder if there was more to the exchange than met the eye. What hidden messages were embedded in that brief, quiet conversation? Was Barron signaling something larger than just a moment of politeness? Political analysts and commentators dissected every possible angle, searching for clues as to what Barron's words might have meant for the future. Some speculated that Barron's whisper was his way of signaling a shift in the political landscape. Acknowledging Biden in such a personal way might have been a subtle nod toward the idea of unity, of building bridges across a divided political spectrum. It could have been Barron's way of showing that, even in the midst of political discord, there was room for respect and understanding. Others saw it as a sign that Barron was ready to take on a more prominent role. perhaps even suggesting that he would one day follow in his father's footsteps. What's next for Barron Trump? As Barron Trump's whispered exchange with Joe Biden lingered in the minds of millions, the question on everyone's lips remained the same. What's next for Barron? For years, Barron had lived in the shadow of his father's legacy, largely staying out of the public spotlight. Yet, that one moment, the whisper that broke the internet, signaled that Barron might not be content with staying behind the scenes forever. Was this an isolated moment, or was it a quiet declaration of his readiness to step into the political arena? Political analysts and pundits were quick to suggest that Barron's actions spoke volumes about his future intentions. He was no longer just the teenage son of a former president. His whisper to Biden seemed to mark the beginning of Barron's public involvement in politics. It was subtle but powerful, a sign that Barron might one day follow in his father's footsteps. Could he be preparing for a future where he leads the charge for a new political movement? Or was this simply a moment of maturity? One thing was clear: the world was watching him closely, awaiting his next move. The notion of Barron Trump entering the political fray is nothing short of tantalizing. If there's one thing that the Trump family has proven over the past few decades, it's that they know how to capture public attention and create a buzz. Barron's whisper was the spark that could ignite a new chapter for the Trump legacy, a legacy that may very well pass through the hands of the next generation. Whether Barron chooses to embrace this new path or remain a more private figure, his moment with Joe Biden had put him on the map. It was no longer just about his father's politics. It was about what Barron would bring to the table in the years to come. For Barron, the journey from son of the president to potential political figure will likely be filled with challenges. The scrutiny of the media, the judgment of the public, and the expectations of a political dynasty will weigh heavily on him. But that whisper to Biden was a sign that Barron might be ready for what's ahead. His role in the future of American politics, whether direct or indirect, will be fascinating to watch unfold. Barron's impact on the Trump legacy. Barron Trump's quiet exchange with Joe Biden raised a larger question. What will Barron's impact be on the Trump family legacy? His father, Donald Trump, left an indelible mark on American politics, one that will be remembered for generations to come. But what about Barron? Would he continue his father's work, carrying the Trump name forward in the world of politics? Or would he forge his own path, using the lessons learned from his family to create something new and separate from the shadow of his father? In many ways, Barron's whisper was a window into the evolving nature of the Trump family's influence. While his father's politics were bold and divisive, Barron's approach seemed far more subtle. His brief moment of interaction with Biden could signal that Barron's impact will be different, one that might not focus solely on the drama and polarization that marked Donald Trump's presidency. Instead, Barron could choose to engage with politics in a more measured, diplomatic way, a way that emphasizes unity over division. However, the question remains: how will Barron navigate the expectations that come with his family name? The Trump legacy is complicated, one that blends wealth, celebrity, and a fierce political ideology. Barron's role in this legacy, whether he embraces it or chooses a different route, will inevitably define the future of the Trump family's involvement in American politics. That whisper to Joe Biden may have been Barron's first step in deciding just how much of that legacy he wants to carry forward, and how much he wants to shape on his own terms. As Barron Trump matures, one thing is certain: his path in life will be filled with choices. Having grown up in a family that has shaped American politics, Barron's options are vast, but they come with their own set of challenges. The question remains: will Barron embrace politics, or will he choose a different route? It seems like a natural progression for someone with such a high-profile family background, but Barron's whisper to Joe Biden showed a glimpse of something more nuanced. Perhaps Barron's first step into the political realm won't be about power or authority. Perhaps it will be about carving out his own identity. The truth is, Barron has the potential to shape the future of American politics, but the world will be watching. Will he be another member of the Trump political dynasty, or will he break from tradition and use his platform for something entirely different? That moment between Barron and Biden didn't just reveal Barron's ability to handle delicate situations. It hinted at a larger shift, one where Barron might be ready to take the reins, but on his own terms. Barron Trump's future is wide open. It's up to him, to decide how much of his family's political legacy he wants to embrace, and how much he wants to reshape. One thing is clear: Barron has already started to make his mark, and the world will be watching closely as his story unfolds. What do you think Barron's whisper to Joe Biden means for his future?
Barron's terrific. He's a great boy.
Donald Trump and Melania Trump's son Barron has been mostly kept out of the spotlight for his life, a decision made by his mother to make it a priority to keep his life as normal as possible.
Donald Trump's youngest son Barron has been credited for helping guide his father's strategy to attract younger voters through appearances with podcasters.
Imagine living a life where even your daily trips are more carefully planned than they might seem. For Barron Trump, that's just the way things go. While his travels may look like any other teenager's, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes to ensure his safety and privacy. Whether he's traveling on Trump Force One or simply going about his daily routine,
we're talking Donald Trump. His signature plane became a staple of many of his rallies during the presidential campaign. It is without a doubt one of the most recognizable planes in the country, with, of course, one exception: the most famous Air Force One.
Barron's journeys are carefully managed by a dedicated team. Curious about how he moves around in such a private way? Join us as we reveal how Barron Trump secretly travels. Barron flying high in Trump Force One. Unlike many kids born into high-profile families, Barron Trump has managed to move through his days with a surprising level of regularity, thanks to a dedicated team that understood one thing well: the young Trump needed privacy as much as he needed security. From his home to his school, and even at the places where he went to relax, there was an invisible force field of planning and preparation that let him live with a freedom not often granted to those with his last name. For a teenager, surrounded by high-stakes decisions and very public figures, this delicate balance was everything. It's a glimpse into a life most of us can only imagine, a life of privilege and privacy, where the ordinary is extraordinary. You will certainly be surprised when you find out how Barron travels around.
We highlight the evolving dynamics inside the Trump family. During his first term, there was a time when Ivanka Trump was her father's MAGA princess, but now the spotlight has shifted to an unexpected figure: Ivanka's younger brother, Barron Trump.
Barron's first flight on Trump Force One marked a significant turning point. The experience was nothing short of extraordinary, offering a unique blend of luxury, comfort, and security. It was a stark contrast to the structured routine he was accustomed to. For Barron, flying on the Trump Force One wasn't just a mode of transportation, it was a gateway to a world of privilege and freedom, where every detail was meticulously planned to ensure his safety and comfort. Trump Force One wasn't just any plane. The family's private Boeing 757 was an impressive sight, even on the quietest tarmac.
It was the ultimate status symbol: Donald Trump's Boeing 757.
Nice seeing you. Pretty good. Have a good time.
A regular presence on the 2016 campaign, at his marquee events, there was his plane.
Outfitted with the kind of luxury that seemed almost surreal: leather seating, plush carpets, and gold-plated accents throughout this aircraft felt like a flying palace. Barron had his favorite spot, a deep leather seat by the window, where he could watch clouds shift or settle in with a movie on the built-in screen. But as much as this space was designed for luxury, it was built with protection in mind, even down to the smallest detail. Inside the plane, the layers of security unfolded indirectly in ways Barron noticed only when he thought about it. Communication systems ran on encrypted channels, ensuring his family could talk freely without worry. The staff on board was highly trained not only to keep things running smoothly, but also to respond to any potential emergency.
This is on the president's reading list? That might be on the First Lady's server.
Inside Air Force One, it seems a diverse reading selection from Life and Style to the latest Sports Illustrated. And on board, some of the finest food you can get in the air. And check out those table settings.
Ready to act without ever disrupting the comfortable atmosphere. Barron's family often used the media room, a soundproofed sanctuary with wide screens and comfortable seating, where the family could keep up with the news or relax. To Barron, it was the perfect escape mid-flight, a place where he could dive into a new video game or catch up on his favorite shows without ever feeling the weight of the travel itself. Yet, even in this luxurious setting, the journey felt as secure as it did dreamlike. Barron knew, for instance, that Trump Force One had its own clearance levels at airports, and it often bypassed standard protocols to ensure safety. Flight paths were mapped with an extra level of scrutiny, often altering at the last minute to avoid prying eyes. Pilots communicated with a network of people tasked with creating the smoothest, safest journey possible, adding a quiet but constant rhythm of vigilance to the luxurious airbound experience. It wasn't just the technology or training that made these flights unique. It was the feeling of security without detention. He didn't need to constantly watch his back or feel like he was walking on eggshells. Instead, the team surrounding him moved quietly, with purpose, maintaining a respectful distance while ensuring everything was as it should be. But that was not all. As Barron traveled more frequently, these flights on Trump Force One began to feel like a second home, a place where he could find both escape and grounding. For him, the experience of being up in the clouds in a space created specifically for his family's lifestyle and his own safety added a layer of depth to each journey. By the time the plane's wheels touched down, Barron hadn't just crossed physical miles. He'd experienced the blend of extravagance and care that defined what it meant to travel as a Trump. For him, each flight wasn't just an arrival at a new destination, but a reminder of the unseen layers of security and luxury that shaped his every journey. Let's take a quick look at how Barron spends his days when he's not flying around. The privilege and privacy of Barron Trump's world. Barron's day starts like anyone else's, though with a bit more of a watchful eye. At the family's residence, whether it was at Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower,
it's been nearly 6 months since former President Donald Trump and wife Melania departed the White House for his Florida golf resort, Mar-a-Lago, which Trump frequently referred to as the Winter White House during his time serving as the 45th president.
The quiet but ever-present security team knew his routine was like clockwork. They didn't just work for him, they worked around him. On school days, when he left his home, a security detail was always a few steps behind, although he often didn't even notice them. His ride to school was not just any car, it was a carefully prepared vehicle, chosen for both comfort and reinforced safety. The SUV's windows were tinted just enough to make the interior invisible to the outside world, allowing him to watch the city rush by without feeling watched himself. Once at school, his security adapted, blending into the background so that Barron could sit in class, joke with friends, and get caught up in whatever felt like a big deal that day without feeling like a Trump. While his classmates mostly saw him as a typical teenager, they were undoubtedly aware of the extra layer of planning around him. Little details, like careful monitoring of visitors and background-checked staff, were so delicately done that only a few ever thought twice about it. But what happens in his social life? Let's find out. Outside of school, in his social life, is where Barron's world showed the most careful planning. When he wanted to go out with friends to a basketball game or a movie, a low-key team mapped the whole route in advance. They picked out the best seats in the theater and checked exits to ensure no surprises. They trailed him in ways that gave him the space to be himself, his laughter blending in with the crowd without a hint of interruption from his security detail. Friends were lightly screened before they entered his close circle. Not that they knew, of course. The team went to great lengths to make sure that every interaction Barron had felt genuine and unsupervised. Even at home, Barron's privacy was crafted with accuracy. Each time he traveled or hosted a friend, his team ensured his environment was as secure as it was relaxing. They knew when to step back, like during family movie nights, but also when to remain close, especially when the extended family gathered. His home was a fortress. It was also a place where he could relax, play video games, and recharge without worrying about being watched. For a life built around the name Trump, Barron's daily world was remarkably calm. He could make impromptu plans with friends, explore new interests, or even just sit quietly with a book by himself. Every moment, whether small or significant, was backed by the comforting presence of a team who understood the importance of making themselves invisible. Barron's life behind the velvet rope may have been a masterpiece of careful preparation, but it was also the foundation that let him grow up quietly, untouched by the noise that constantly surrounded his family. Barron's world may have seemed lavish from the outside, but it was shaped to feel grounded, allowing him to enjoy the simple experiences of a young person coming into their own. His team understood that he needed a sense of independence, even within his family's high-profile life.
There was the ribbon cutting in Washington yesterday at the new Trump Hotel, and we're back now with more from Donald Trump and his family. They were all together.
So, while others managed his surroundings to ensure a controlled environment, he could explore his interests in sports, arts, or academics freely. This balance wasn't just about safety, it was a silent but strong foundation that empowered him to grow and experience life on his terms, with minimal interference. It provided Barron with the rare opportunity to blend both security and the ordinary, letting him truly live a quiet life amidst a world that constantly buzzed around his family. Yet, there was more to Barron's travels than what we know about. Join us as we explore further. The high-security world of Barron Trump's ground travel. Traveling on the ground offered a unique blend of luxury and intense security for Barron. Even a simple ride became an exercise in precision and caution. Shifting from the skybound comfort of Trump Force One, he was now in a different setting, surrounded by a caravan of armored SUVs, and at the center of it all, the Beast, a vehicle that was less car and more fortress on wheels. The name alone signified its purpose, yet to him, it became more than just a moving shield. It was an icon of how his world blended the extraordinary with the everyday. The Beast was no ordinary car. This custom-built luxury limousine was fortified to withstand an array of potential threats, from chemical attacks to explosions. Outfitted with bulletproof windows and reinforced doors, it was designed to handle any potential danger. To Barron, though, the Beast felt more like a strange blend of luxury and security. The spacious interior, complete with soft leather seats, offered him comfort, while the high-tech panels and systems created an invisible wall of protection that over time he grew accustomed to. Riding in the Beast was a masterclass in tactical security, carried out with quiet precision. The convoy surrounding the vehicle was carefully designed. It was more than a group of cars, it was a moving fortress. Alongside the Beast traveled a series of SUVs, each strategically placed to act as a decoy or a barrier if needed, while trained Secret Service agents inside each vehicle were prepared for anything that could arise. Barron often noticed the way the team communicated, using discreet signals and quick nods, their alertness both comforting and oddly surreal for a teenager simply heading out for the day. This is only the beginning. There was a sense of routine and rhythm to these journeys that made them feel almost normal for Barron, even though he knew few other teens experienced such measures. If he was just headed to a restaurant or a friend's place, the team would adjust accordingly, coordinating routes and ensuring they remained untraceable. Each trip was a practice choreography of security and strategy, and while he often tried to ignore the details, he couldn't help but feel a sense of astonishment at how much planning went into something as simple as a drive across town. Still, these rides reminded him that his life was far from typical. While he might have felt like any other teen inside the limousine, the reality was layered with an intense level of protection, tailored specifically for him. His family's influence and status meant that his everyday travel was anything but ordinary. Over time, he became familiar with each piece of the routine, the strategically timed stops, the constant vigilance, and the subtle ways the drivers communicated any potential issue, no matter how minor. In these moments, Barron felt both grounded and surrounded by an invisible shield of responsibility. His rides in the Beast revealed more than just security measures. They showed him the intricate, unseen side of his family's world, where even a simple car ride was an experience crafted with care and foresight. For him, it was a reminder that his life moved along a path unlike any other, where ordinary and extraordinary existed side by side, both seamlessly woven into his everyday travels. But guess what? There's still more to come. Barron Trump's Oceanic escapes. As Barron's journey through the skies became a regular part of his life, it wasn't long before his family's sea adventures took center stage in their world of luxury and leisure. The air was often filled with the hum of private jets.
I introduce you to Trump Force One, owned by celebrity billionaire Donald Trump.
But the sea, with its vast expanse and endless horizon, was where the family truly embraced a different kind of freedom. Barron found that a day on the water, whether it was cruising off the coast of Florida or exploring distant shores, was an experience like no other. One of Barron's favorite retreats is the Trump Princess, the family's renowned super yacht. The moment Barron stepped aboard, he was transported into a world of unrivaled luxury. The yacht's polished wood panels gleamed under the sunlight, with rare woods used in the furnishings, each craft to perfection. The interiors were a masterclass in elegance, from the plush velvet lounges to the onyx-tiled bathrooms that practically sparkled with sophistication. Barron had his own space on board, designed just for him to relax or entertain friends with the same kind of magnificence that marked the rest of the yacht. While the Trump Princess was a floating palace, it was also equipped for adventure. For Barron, the real fun came when he traded his relaxation for some excitement. He'd spend hours wakeboarding, jet skiing, or exploring the crystal-clear waters just off the coast. The yacht was also equipped with the latest water sports gear, making it easy for Barron and his family to enjoy the sea however they liked. Whether it was a thrilling ride on a speedboat or a peaceful paddle in a watercraft, Barron had endless options to experience the sea. And when the day wound down, he'd retreat to the deck, where the warm evening breeze and spectacular sunsets were the perfect way to end a day of excitement. But even in these moments of carefree luxury, security was never far from the picture. While Barron was free to enjoy his time on the water, there was always a quiet, professional presence watching over him. A Coast Guard patrol often circled the yacht, ensuring that the family's privacy remained intact while also protecting them from potential threats. The crew was thoroughly evaluated, each member undergoing extensive background checks from the captain to the deckhands. Barron's family understood that with privilege came the need for constant vigilance. They never had to worry about their safety because the team behind them made it a priority. For Barron, the sea wasn't just a place to escape. It was a space where he could feel free, yet always secure. It was a different world from the one he encountered in the sky or on land, one that offered the ultimate in both adventure and comfort. Each trip on the Trump Princess felt like a new chapter in his life, a way to explore the beauty of the world from a perspective only a few ever experience, all while knowing that security was always there, in the background, making sure every trip was as safe as it was spectacular. But with such a grand existence, what does it truly mean to grow up with this level of privilege and scrutiny? We would love to know in the comments. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more.